I'm from Australia. We love spiders.
Be having a nightmare right now because he admitted that he hates bugs. So he's with you, Doug. But let's talk about the maps here. The map pool between Fnatic and NIP, of course. We spoke about already the fact that Fnatic are coming in here with 2 players as stand-ins. Do you feel like, Doug, that would change anything?
Good opportunity for comfortability on the map by any means by not having Durkee here. So they've got a pretty damn good win rate on split as well. So NIP is swimming in very, very dangerous waters right now.
Yeah, I think I think the map pick could go every way they could possibly want, and they're still gonna have a hard time getting past this Fnatic group, right? Like maps can go their way, but if Fnatic's able to keep things simple, if they're able to work around their subs and still put themselves in advantageous positions, this should be pretty smooth sailing. And I think on the other side, if you're NIP, just play loose. Right, like you've got the pressure of Brazil and how demanding of and passionate of a fan base that can be. Just play loose. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, the map picks have gone pretty well for them, as well as it could have gone. We are going to take a quick break here, but don't worry, guys. Stick with us. We've got Agent Select on the way. all about second chances and also some new faces as well. Let's welcome some of those new faces right now. Onto the stage is Fnatic versus NIP. For you to face
to believe.
You want to
well, you guys at home might not be super
day. that kind of guy starts a bidding war. But when you look at this roster for NIP, my one concern was if they come in playing like I've seen the VODs of them play, I do not believe in them as a team. But you know what, Tom? Right off the bat, we've got some changes.
Yeah, the fact that Zhanji as well has moved over to the KO is a big change, because it's always been other players almost filling in around him, and he is either on that Jet or on that Raze. That's the two options that you kind of bring in for him, and there's a good reason for that. He's incredibly aggressive. He's going to disrespect all of your utility, get it basically up in your face. Now, I will say John will do exactly the same thing, but in recent form, more importantly on this map, they had troubles. And that was one of the things that I was really worried about coming into this, because you look at them facing off against Loud. Obviously, it's the other Brazilian team we've got in this tournament, the one that I think a lot of people have a lot more faith in. Well, the last 2 times they played this map versus them, they only got 4 rounds, and he got 4 kills total off the 2 maps. So I think there was a definite need for him to at least change his role, putting John onto the Jet. That's his comfort zone. That's where he's playing that more aggressive style in your face, and that's something I think the Fnatic are actually going to struggle with, having 2 stand-ins, is the fact that this team is not going to be like coming up with all these niche, crazy little strategies. They're going to run at you, and they're going to try and shoot you in the face.
And that's exactly the problem, right? Now, we need to answer a question, and I guess we can't answer that. Only Fnatic can. Do they have the protocols in the 8 days or 9 days at this point of practice that they've had with this 5-man? Do they have those protocols set that they can now defeat a team like NIP if they go for that strategy, the tried and tested run and gun? Well, we're going to start it out here in round number 1, finally getting underway. NIP will be on the defensive side of Fnatic's map choice of Ascent.
Already. Like, you can see they've pushed B main straight off the bat, they've pushed A main straight off the bat, and they've knifed down mid to just try and catch anybody over towards tiles. So this team is desperate for information, but they're not doing it in, I guess, the most standard way, with sort of taking one piece of map control. They're trying to take it all.
Yeah, I sort of get this, though. I think early round, especially with that KO intel, they were hoping they could spot a couple of players, which would prompt an immediate reaction on the other extremity of the map, where they would go swinging through. But Fnatic, well, they're sort of waiting for that. They were holding the default, watching for any aggression, but there's 55 seconds left, and eventually you've got to make a move on the attack. So they're going to move in towards the B site, but the rotates are through. NIP have got Zhanji already ready behind the spawn, but he's going to be naded out. Now the players in Boathouse are isolated. Zhanji able to find one through the smoke, and the kills are going to NIP for a little bit. They have absolutely no idea that Kawanzin was there until the turret saw him, and he's gone. This is starting to go Fnatic's way.
Yeah, and the remaining 2 players don't really have the positioning to try and break back through. It's awkward for Bosa, though. He gets stuck in the mud, leaving it down into a 2v2 after plant. Both players to the back of site, and there's actually still a paranoia here for the defenders as they look to try and get back in.
Oh, that could be such a huge problem. At least if they're holding the doorway, they can maybe force those close range angles. But NIP used the paranoia just to get through onto the site, to break through those choke points, and now they'll look to duel. A shock dart out, Magnum's down, and that is a quick double for Bezany, leaving it into NIP's hands for the pistol round.
Yeah, and I think they are definitely a team that is going to be very important. They get off to a solid start. Like, they are a team that I've seen basically just momentum blast other rosters just by getting those superstar players rolling. And there is a reason they have someone like John around, even though he has those sort of sketchier performances. It's because when he has a good performance, you're screwed. And that's genuinely the case. The weird thing as well about this roster, which I think we were sort of talking about in the green room, is the fact that Kawanzin is the young 16-year-old, and he's playing Sova. And the 2 older, experienced players, in most cases, are playing like Jet Raider, Jet Raze. It's like, it definitely seems a little bit backwards, but it also means that in terms of how you're going to play the game, they're going in with no fear. They've been here a million times before. It's not those like land jitters or anything like that.
Nasty little strat from Fnatic trying to come in with the wall bangs out of the Sheriff to start things off. You know, it's interesting you say that, though, about NIP having those older players on the duelist. I just imagine Angel sat here watching it from afar and just smiling, thinking,
You think there's a problem with that?
Like, what are you trying to say, Tom, huh? Oh, look, realistically for Fnatic, a couple of pistols invested into. They want to try to grab a few kills, but
He didn't break the drone!
NIP should be able to get away with this one pretty easily, avoid losing too many players. I like they're giving up a decent bit of control. You know, Bezany just there, he spotted a few players. He doesn't want to swing in all too actively. They've put a smoke down now as well to retake that control and try to stop Fnatic from really getting in. This is nicely handled so far, a cautious round from NIP, and a much needed one as well. Lost the 1 player and 40 HP on site. This could get a little scary.
Kawanzin low. will eventually get isolated. Ferox's found another. This is already a successful round for Fnatic, taking down 3 players and now leaving Mystic in a clutch. Now, I'll tell you, there's not many more players on this squad you want, but Zhangji, quick enough on that wraparound, will grant NIP a second. Now, it's nowhere near as clean as they would have liked, and now, Mitch, the question is, do you fully invest back into this one?
I mean, it's a tough choice, right? You've got 3 players who need to invest, but I did notice that a bunch of the NIP players had pistols to play with, like ghosts and stuff left over from the previous, so maybe those can be dropped over to make it not that terrible of a buy. Obviously, John isn't close enough to his ultimate to really get anything to help them out here, so you have a choice. Full buy or do what they're doing now, and I like this idea. Like, give up the 3rd round, potentially. They just want to do as much damage as they can in this one.
Oh, wow. An early flash straight off the bat is exactly what we're talking about. The HUD hasn't even had a chance to catch up with everything because half the players are already dead. And while Kawazin has done incredible work. 2 kills with the Frenzy from there. The flash almost grants another one for Bezany as well, but it is still going to be back into that 3v3 scenario. Now, just as in the last round, Mitch, too much damage here is already somewhat of a loss for Fnatic. Yeah,
it's 2 rifles, right? Fnatic didn't come in here with any sort of Spectres or anything like that. This is their full buy round to already lose 2 players and NIP to have 3 remaining, you know, even footing. This is perfect. Now, the one downside for the NIP side is that they are set up on A. They've got all their utility there from Killjoy. They've got their players mostly playing around that area. And by the looks of it, I mean, Fnatic's spike was outside B. It had been dropped there. They went back and got it, but they haven't yet decided to go towards that B site. And depending on what they choose in the next couple of seconds, and Tom, they're starting to choose to go towards the A site. This could play perfectly into NIP's hands.
Yeah, no rotation yet. I like this from NIP, just almost gambling. Now the smoke going through into mid could be the fake that they need, but because the drone's gone through elsewhere, already 1 player being spotted. And on the other side, they're going to have to try and clear some of these closer angles. The paranoia leaves them completely blind. The swing comes through, but the trades are so good. Zhangji coming up with a couple, and now it's left all onto Ferox, and he can't quite close it. NIP off to a flyer of a start, 3-0 up, and they get themselves a free rifle.
That's an absolute tragedy to start out the attack side like this for Fnatic. I mean, NIP are going to be farming cash off the back of that. Just think back a couple of minutes. We saw them come in with 3 pistols. This was a
How's he get this second?
Super light buy.
He's also low. Just both players tagged.
And we're already seeing an investment coming out of NIP into an Odin as well. That's round 4 Odin buy. I can get behind that, Tom. I'm starting to really like the look of this NIP team, at least for now. Oh, there we go.
Oh, okay, the HUD was bugged. I saw 3 players on NIP without guns. I was like, are you crazy? You just want to win it without spending any money? But no, just a little glitch, a little bug. It happens. Again, though, all you really have in this round is a few pistols and Magnum investing into a Spectre. No ultimate. Well, actually, they've got the Hunter's Fury, but how are they going to utilize that to actually win a round? I don't know.
But those steps are being heard as well. You got John right up next to the
3
smoke.
players got hit there.
He made the right call. John's backing off immediately. I love it. Doesn't overcommit, doesn't take any silly plays. We've seen teams do it far too often. This time on the back of the flash, Zhangji, I don't know how he's gotten away with that much. That flash obviously saving his bacon when it came to Hyber not being able to see him. That's 4-0 flawlessly.
Yeah, Prime Gaming flawless coming through for NIP in the 4th round, and I'm like this is one of the things that will always frustrate me, that you see a sort of a player with experience, like Zhangji coming from CS:GO, someone who's been around in the scene in esports at least for a very long time, always playing this duelist, and then he switches over to something else. You're like, this looks really good. Why were you not doing this before? But yeah, I definitely don't think he should have got away with 3 kills, but he's going to take it. Already online, and Fnatic already having to take a pause.
I mean, that's Zhangji going back to his roots, though, right? This guy played CS for how many years? And, you know, you put him on a KO, he's able to left-click a flash through, or right-click the flash through, right?
slack on the wall bangs if he's not going to be in the server
Listen,
anymore.
I tried to convince Fearoth for years to pick up that Odin, but he won't listen to the wallbang strats. Magnum, though, he's always been a little bit more inclined towards this Odin.
I'm waiting to see if Kawazin actually goes for that lineup, because it doesn't seem like he is. In fact, I think we're about to have a bloodbath within this B side, because there's already a multitude of players on the other side. I don't think they've spotted the player in the corner either, so it becomes very awkward for Hyper. In fact, he's left all on his lonesome, and now the wallbangs start to come through on the other side. Both players taking a reasonable amount of damage, but it's Kawazin that comes off slightly worse for wear.
That's very good for Kawazin, getting the first tag out already on the drone. He's going to keep them back a little bit longer as he makes his way through and hasn't quite been able to see them outside. But the job is done. They've stopped the B aggression. They've dealt with Hyber already, and very nicely as well. Having that player tucked in the corner, the two behind, the spam out of the Odin. It's a lot of pressure and a lot of details to keep track of while you're pushing on in there. Just overwhelmed Fnatic, and they're left back into a situation with a man disadvantage and no real map control.
Yeah.
So they're going to start pushing up mid to take it.
Moster taking a bit of damage, and Bessony's just absolutely wrecked him through the corner of the wall. And they've still got these aggressive positions. Like, Mystic hasn't actually got any control of this A site. A pop flash is being set up. They've got the information as well, and Kawazin just spamming. There's only 30 seconds, and Fnatic is still just trying to break through this angle, and they've been caught.
Of course, it's Magnum finding that kill as well, with an Odin running in through a smoke on his short. But that's all he'll get. And in fact, that's all that Fnatic will get. Mystic's running for the hills, trying to get towards the attacker spawn so he can save this weapon. You see John on his way down middle, just 10 seconds on the clock. But that's quite a long time when they're hunting you this aggressively. Ambitious play that ends up, I mean, working out, I guess. BNJ's still alive.
It's just, you know, it's just
a 140
it's a confusion play. It's a confusion play. Like, you're never going to expect someone to actually do that. But the thing I really want to give credit to NIP for at the moment, at least, is the positions where they're gambling, a lot of their personnel have been correct. Like, that early B presence, they almost expected there to be aggression on the other side. And because of that, they were able to basically shut down the initial play. And the problem for Fnatic, sure, you have two players who can basically call on the fly, but once you already lose basically your initial duelist, which we know already for Fnatic is someone that they desperately need, they didn't seem to actually have a backup plan because they didn't have any map control.
You know, we can sit here and talk about Hyber as being an insanely strong duelist. Like I said, shortlist for pretty much every tier 1 team out there, but he's got to be able to put up the numbers. There's a great flash again from Shan-Chi, but he'll be traded out this time. And no one can quite res him back up, but they're not expecting BNJ to be here as well. And he is just getting away with murder. 2 quick kills on the back side and a spray down for 4. 6-0 NIP. They're not even breaking a sweat.
No, that absolutely slammed as they attempt to try and break into that A site, and that's been the case for pretty much the whole of this game. The fact that Janji's only died once basically says that, considering he's got 12 kills and has been pressured the majority of the time, and finally they make it into the site, and you got BNJ there as well, just to do exactly the same thing. Like, sure, again, maybe some slightly weaker weaponry for Fnatic, but it's getting to the point where that's no longer an excuse.
Yeah, I'm really impressed by Shan-Chi's right click so far. Like, those underhand throws with the flashes have been catching them off again and again. This time they were able to trade out 1-to-1, but the dude still survives the round thanks to his ult being down and was stopping them from using their utility on the way through the entire time. Now, straight away, Fnatic are going to start out this round with a lockdown, but it looks like it's going to be a big old fake because they're rotating to the B site. In fact, the spike was already waiting outside of B.
Oh my god.
That is ridiculous for John to get 2 there, and now he knows he's caught them trying to run back. I mean, the players on A don't need to move, though, because they've got a comfortable advantage to play with at this point. Don't believe your hood. There's only 3 players left for Fnatic.
Nice shot from Hyber. Oh, he's going to catch the second as well. Janji down, and, well, now they've at least got a little bit of hope back into this round. John's going to take the wide swing, and Hyber, well, he's just decimating at the moment. BNJ might be about to make the same mistake, but I guess they don't expect another player to push through that angle. BNJ will be able to clear at least this closer angle, but they've got to get rid of Hyber, who's looking to almost go for the ace at this point, but will fall back.
There's the reveal. They know both players are coming from the market. A 4K for Hyper secured, and there's the ace. Well, we wanted this guy to turn up. We needed him to show something big, and ace will do it. That's just about enough, you know?
Yeah, no, it's well, like it's always weird when something like that happens. Like, I want for anybody who doesn't know too much about Hyber, currently on Koi, a player who's been playing in the under divisions of the VCT and EMEA, someone we've seen for a long time in different mixed teams, and someone with the nickname the Hibernator.
And you know what? I've heard so many horror stories about organizations. So let me just say, I spoke to Hyber, and he said that Koi were extremely cordial and made it so easy. He had a one-day turnaround to make this happen, to get over here, obviously with Durka going out at the last second, and they made it happen. So fair play to Koi for being a nice organization and letting their player come and shine on the international stage.
The first round Fnatic wins, he aces on LAN. It's like
looks pretty good for Koi, doesn't it? Yeah, you know, they're not really losing anything by giving him this.
Double his contract. Double his contract.
I mean, it would be ridiculous as well, because the thing is, you're giving a player LAN experience, you know, but some orgs, they don't care. Well, it's not they don't care, it's they're not very smart. But yeah, fair play to Koi. I mean, really nice in organizing that, and I think obviously for Firoth as well with Alliance, we heard that things were very smooth on that end. So it's good to hear from Fnatic, but they've only got one round. Look, you know, they got their players here, but they still need to get a few more on the board.
It's the least sustainable round ever. A 3v5 ace from Hyber. Like, don't get me wrong, NIP are very much firmly in the driver's seat, but it's just whether or not that actually like gets to them. Like, if they're just going to come straight back and win themselves another round, it's almost irrelevant. And again, it's looking like we've got that fast-paced push coming through from Fnatic. They've waited the time. Hyber's found himself the kill. It's the right click, so his knives are gone. But he's been able to retrieve himself a weapon. The pop flash is solid out from Boaster. And finally, they've managed to take over this A side.
They knew that BNJ was there. He had just like popped off one shot. They heard the sound cue. They react instantly. This is a much better round from Fnatic. It again comes on the back of hyper, or should I say hyper aggression, as he goes straight into short. Now we saw that backfire, right? The B main round, he goes in, same pacing, same kind of round, but when he loses, when he dies, it just fell apart. I mean, it all came tumbling down for Fnatic. Boaster was going mid and he died and everything was staggered out. But when it works, this is what it looks like, a flawless round at this point.
They've started using the Paranoia as well, just to try and clear out that player towards tree, because they've been so aggressive around their smokes. Like, it's not one of those spots anymore where Fnatic can just go, all right, we've got our smoke down, we'll just make our way through. No one's going to flash this one, Mitch, don't worry about that. We'll just walk through. No, they have to now actually counter that player. And, well, important that they've managed to, at least in this round, shut down Zhangji. I don't know if that's going to be something they can do consistently, because he's probably going to adapt.
So there's that, and then you also have to take into consideration that, you know, it's taken this long to have that counter over NIP. Now maybe they're going to run the same thing again and hope for the best, but I imagine they change it up, and now you're going to have another spanner in the works.
I think he also got tagged up by the recon as well. So I'm pretty sure he got hit by like 3 different pieces of utility, and that's what it's taken to get rid of Zhangji. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, give him the opportunity to try and take space, or just reposition. Like, we've seen him even reposition around the switch as well and have the same sort of pop flashes, which he wouldn't have been hit by the utility that was thrown just later. Also, I think because he was hit by the 0 point, he couldn't have flashed out anyway, but it was just a nice little set play in the round from Fnatic. But again, I feel like there's only so many times you're going to be able to do that, to isolate a specific player, and, wow. Let's see what the plan is in this round. In fact, it looks like John might be up to a few more shenanigans. We've already seen his mid play in one round, and it did fairly well.
Yeah, he's gone for the light shields here. Some fiscal constraints. That was a spam. They had no idea that he's there. They didn't see a barrel or anything. You know, John was a little spooked for a second. But yeah, he's just going to go back and hold this angle, wait for someone on Fnatic to try to take space. I think they're going to drone this out, though, at this point. You're going to be cautious. Yeah, there you go. Drone's going up.
That will at least grant them a little bit of mid-control. And it does mean there has to be a slight switch in position. Did he manage to actually tag the player at the back as well? I think it has, so I think it's forced out a couple of positions. Now, Hyber, I think, will have a rough idea, but the pop flash has just kept him back that little bit longer. And in the meantime, the drone's starting to come through on the other side.
Is Shanji big brain? Is he huge? Did he just use the flash on mid, and then he's rotated instantly to short? I almost felt like that was a reaction play, like, oh, Shanji's mid, we got short, go. He's not going to flash through the smoke, and then he's already here, back in that position that he's been in time and time again. But he's going to make that noise. He's going to try to keep them back. And actually, it's dragged some rotations over as well. You know, just a little bit of utility being used up here by Fnatic, and it's really selling it to NIP that they're defaulting back to the same old A play. 4 players on this A side, and 1 way outside in spawn with an Odin. Still dangerous, though, and especially with the recon online. They need to destroy that right away, and they have done just that. What a spam!
Just
Jump darts.
And actually, they've got the lockdown, but they won't actually cover out the back of the site, and because of that, some of the positions are still going to be hold. Hyber is at least slowing them down a little bit. The remaining 2 are stuck in the back of the site, but remember, there's still 1 man lurking in the dark. It may not matter, though. BNJ's just gone sprinting in. Now, they need to get rid of Fearoth, and they don't know. They don't know the boaster's behind. He could just end this round in his own. The first goes his way, and now the panic sets in for BNJ. A solid flank to give them the round, and well, it's now 3 in a row for Fnatic.
Well, that's certainly the wind in their sails now. NIP have just called the timeout before as well. And then they come into this round. Fnatic have, I'm not going to say an easy time, but it can get a little bit concerning now if these rounds keep on swinging Fnatic's way. I think NIP are going to, I don't want to change it up a little bit after being faked out like that. They played a super passive round. They tried to react to what Fnatic were doing, but now they've realized that these guys are actually willing to fake them out. They're willing to play into those tendencies a little bit. So I want to see some early round aggression. I want to see some map control for the NIP side. And that's exactly what they've done. Look at John again inside of B main. This is the position that allowed them to have that heavy stack on A that Fnatic kept running into.
Yeah, especially with the fact that in the previous round, they basically droned him out of his spot. So unless Fnatic are going to read things incredibly well, he'll likely be able to hold on to this at least a little bit more. And they've also gone back to the previous setup with the pop flash available from Switch. So this is basically meaning that Zhanji can't be isolated anywhere near as easily. And they've also got a main control with the push that's already come through from BNJ.
You know what's interesting? There's 2 players currently holding this entire map. Between John and Bezany, they have the entire map covered. The rest of the players are just kind of in position to react to whatever kind of control comes through. Obviously, you've also got BNJ peeking aggressively on A long to try and catch a pick. But they're not being given anything. And with 45 seconds left, again, we put the pressure onto Fnatic to make their way up to blitz on in. Hyber is going to be spotted and taken down. John is clean with 2 quick kills. NIP have got control over this round, and Fnatic have to blitz out into John, who just keeps on delivering. Fearoth will try his best. 5 HP and ace needed, and it's not happening today.
We've had a Hyber round, and now we've just had a John round. Dear Lord. And half of those shots as well, I felt like my brain couldn't even react to the fact that it hit the shot.
That was
like,
nuts.
Just the shot number 2. Whereas like the first one, I was like, I don't even feel like he corrected quick enough to hit that second shot.
Oh, here we go. Second time. He's not even aiming at him as well. That bullet just went where he willed it. Unbelievable. And he almost got Fearoth as well. I saw that hit a strand of hair. 7-3 right now. With 2 rounds left to play out, Fnatic are going to start to get desperate. Boaster, okay. He bought with like 0.5 seconds left, Boaster. You give me a heart attack, man. Whew. All right, so they've got the full buy up. But it's going to take a lot more than just the weapons to win this round.
Yeah, in terms of ults for this round, there's basically nothing online. Hunter's Fury, the only one that's even close, which, well, I don't really think we've seen many, if any, post-plant scenarios. Most of them have just been won by the time the spike actually goes down. And so I don't know how useful that's necessarily going to be. Early utility already expended, and Hyber's actually just gone straight through it! He just dashes into Shandy's face and just takes him out before he can even react with the flash. Benzi's also just gone down to a nano swarm. It leaves BNJ as like the lone defender of this site, somehow dancing between the remaining players, keeping things close. Now John comes through, just tapping away at the heads. And this is starting to get dangerous for Fnatic.
I'm not even sure how BNJ's still alive. That Hunter's Fury's looking for John, and it almost catches his feet. He noticed at the last second. Oh, and with that kill on the Boaster, the round is already done. Fearoth cleaned up in the end. 8 for NIP. This was looking clean. In fact, BNJ was playing in the same position that he had been countless times before that Fnatic had seen him in, and they even went with 2 players to spam him down, and it wasn't enough. That smoke that he put into play saved his bacon. That is unbelievable.
I can't believe he survived this entire round. Like, I genuinely can't believe it. Like, the fact that Hyper didn't get him initially, then you have him just dancing around the site. Like, this is a beautiful replay, by the way. Thank you very much for this. But just no one being able to clear him. And then by that point, the remaining players had rotated into support as well. And you have John with his swing. Again, we're going to have the battle of the Odins. Mitch is devastated that no one's actually really found a kill off of this just yet.
No all, but okay, come on, I'm getting excited, man.
Oh, wow.
Keep it going.
Wow, they did like 18
HP.
damage.
Woo!
Wow.
Huge Odin gameplay. Oh, God, yeah, no, we're really not getting the Odin game I was hoping for, especially seeing the Magnum attack side. Fearoth's trying to pick it up now and do a little bit of damage himself, but not finding it. The deep shock darts going through. And with the minute on the clock, you know, Fnatic, they've put all their eggs in one basket. They are sat outside B. They're waiting to go through. You're seeing that there's going to be a paranoia, I think, moving up through main. Already spotted that John's up close. I mean, you've got to deal with John. You know this guy. He's going to take 3-4 kills if you don't take him down. He's pushed through with an Odin. What a madman. The Odin wall bang from Fearoth to finally deal with John. This is where the rest of NIP come big. And it's Shanji, the flash again. But only one found on the back of it.
And the remaining players are still yet to rotate through. The paranoia won't really grant anything. Oh, never mind. Blinds Mystic enough that he can't do much, and Fearoth left in a 1v2 scenario, unable to get the spike down, but he picks both of them, but he can't quite get anything. They managed to dodge just through the edge, trying to get something. Oh, there's no way he clutches this with just 10 bullets of an Odin. First kill goes away, but he switches, and now the time becomes the issue. Just 12 seconds left, and BNJ will swing. It is going to be NIP to take this half in a 9-3 fashion. Very dominant from then. It took a few specific set pieces from Fnatic to get anything.
The Fnatic found their 3 rounds in a row. They got into a swing of it a little bit, but NIP, that disruptive play came back. They started to change it up, and John was just tapping head after head. Unbelievable. This swing round are won basically by him. There's so much to look at in that. So many impressive plays from NIP. I don't think we can do it justice, Tom. So let's send it over to the desk.
Thank you very much. NIP off with Mitch and Tom.
Thank you so much, Yinsu, and the desk. We're right back on into the game. 9-3 is where we left off. NIP have had a fantastic first half, and now they're moving over to the attacking side, where we're going to see them flex their chops with a lot of frenzies. I'm noticing these guys really like to play the frenzy.
Yeah, I'm a little bit sad that they then don't run that with the Brimmy. They stim those frenzies up. You're in there like lightning, but hey, I don't think these guys need any help with the W key, that's for sure. You've also got an aggressive position already being held by Hyber. He's just going to try and hit the headshot and get out of there, and unfortunately, no headshot to be found.
At least he does the latter, getting out of there safely. Turret going to be destroyed up close. John with the reload, and his Danger Man's now moving into the site. Already tagged up once, flashed up, not able to get too much done at the start, but now here he comes, closing in the distance, and this is where the frenzy really thrives. The shots aren't going to land, and one headshot's not quite enough, but it has weakened up Magnum, making it easier to be taken down by BNJ or Kawazine, but never mind. In the end, Fnatic take that. A 4th round found, and honestly, that is a round they desperately needed considering how far behind they are.
Yeah, it's a lifesaver, and you have to bear in mind this is their map choice as well. So the one thing we can say is, okay, they haven't had much time to practice, but I imagine they're choosing a map that they have had time to practice. So.
I would hope it's at least their second best map coming in. So. Yeah, it's not great if you're going to struggle that much. At the same time, when you look at the difference between scrims and officials, and I think the best example of that is, like, I've heard DRX were terrible. Like, hey, we're doing horrendous in scrims and so on.
Who'd you hear that from?
DRX.
Who's your source?
They even said it.
It's Stacks in
no,
it.
Yeah, literally. Stacks said it himself. We had, like, Tier 2, Tier 3 EMEA teams reporting back that they were, like, demolishing DRX, and then they've come through and played some of the best Valorant in officials. It's a different ball game altogether. So for Fnatic, you need the officials on stage. You got to get those get those games in, and it's similar to what we said about Liquid, right? When we had that interview with Scream, and he said that he thinks actually being here instead of being straight into playoffs is an advantage for them because they can warm up into it. Now for Fnatic, you know, they don't have the history together to fall back on that, and this is where I get a little bit worried. We're like, you got to have a little bit of a better performance coming out of the gate, because the warm-up time's going to be kind of tough.
Also, then they'll switch a player, so there is no real warm-up time. It's like,
well, that's that's
you're going to warm up to then
to
switch anyway, and then you have to warm up again. So they're in a bad spot out of everybody. Of course, this round for NIP is one where they've invested barely anything. They know the alarm bot's down mid, and it looks like they might be attempting to try and bait with it, like just break it and almost force a rotation in the other direction. The problem, however, is they have seen the remainder of the players. So killing off the 3 on short, that only leaves a couple to go in, and they've forced 0 rotation. So the remainder for Fnatic know exactly where they are. They've already been spotted, and Magnum should be able to wire out both players. It wasn't quite as clean as you'd like, but hey, it's not going to matter. They've got themselves another round.
Yeah, you'd like to see a couple more pieces of damage, a few more weapons taken out of the hands of Fnatic if you're NIP.
I do love me a piece of damage.
You know, piece of damage, yeah.
A piece of damage.
Nice piece of damage. A pizza square of damage. But yeah, at 9-5, NIP don't really need to sweat it. This is where they get the buyout, and I'm very excited because I knew that Magnum was going to do it. We know this guy, but Kawazine has taken out the Odin as well.
Yeah, of course. Prime Gaming flawless. This is what you always want to see when you are the team with the bonus round. That's the whole point. You make yourself a few extra credits, you get yourself the ultimates. Well, this is a straight-up B push. There is nothing other than this. They are all going straight through B main, and Fnatic have been... No, I don't think so.
Yes, I mean, at this point, they have to just play hard retake. There's no way to get back in there and try to fight this, surely, but hold on. Maybe they're going to pop that flash through. Johnson, the smoke. He's taking a triple. What is this guy doing? Still alive as well, running around and taking heads. This guy is just something else. Fearoth, the final man standing, as a 1v3 with a Sheriff in hand, and I think I know the end of this story. We'll see. There's damage done at least to Kawazine, but with John still alive.
I've seen someone clutch a situation like this with a Sheriff.
Don't you even start. Don't you say it. Don't you say it.
Not my
It's the next map up as well, and Fearoth's on the server. I don't want to hear about a Sheriff 1v4 on Split, okay?
He's got a rifle now, and he's just going to leave. To be honest,
right call.
If he can get even 1 kill and then leave, this is actually a really successful round for Fnatic for a bonus. Of course, they're in a spot where, realistically, winning it would have been ideal just to get them back into a position where they have a good economy and they can actually start to close this out. How much damage can Fearoth do here? He's got himself 1. Anything more would have been great, but John is he's just lightning fast on those duels.
So can we just summarize? I don't know if we have a replay ready for John, but this guy ran on the B side, ran into the smoke that they had put down for Spawn. By the way, they knew pretty much that it was a retake, because look at the amount of utility coming through from Spawn. They'd already seen that there were players in market.
He's actually crazy.
He just runs in, takes this fight, then just dashing away.
But
yeah, no problem.
it's also when you know that your opponent has like weaker weapons, to do this is insane. Like, it's actually insane.
It's absolutely nuts. I mean,
he should have died.
It's the
100%.
success rate. That's the crazy thing. Wow, the confidence definitely built up for NIP. They've hit double digits now, but we have to remember, that was a weak buy from Fnatic. Now they've got the full buyout, and this is where you have to be very cautious as the attackers. Hyber's operator is lurking somewhere, but NIP don't know where. You can see that they're being cautious and droning out mid, but it's in B main that you can see Hyber scoped in, waiting for someone to step out. BNJ is sat there with the spike. He's about to step on into the crosshair. Luckily, it's Cowanzine that goes down, though.
Oh, the flash is so solid. But Zero that she manages to find a double. This is looking so clean, and BNJ is the only one left standing. Stuck within B main, the rotation already coming through from Boaster just to deny his spot, and they have players watching on that flank as well. Mystic will catch him with a knife out, but, well, doesn't manage to get much else.
Yeah, the jump keeps him safe. He's stepped back a second just to give a little bit of a clue that he was TPing away. But he was still tucked in the corner like Mystic knew. So that is going to be another round picked up by Fnatic. But, you know, there's still a long enough way to go.
Yeah, in all honesty, this is the side where I think if Hyber was going to properly pop off, this is where you'd expect it. That defensive side operator is something that we've really enjoyed watching from him, but also his role on the attack is much more of like, headbutt them. Like that's your role as a Jet on Ascent. Like, dive into a smoke, take some space, try and kill someone along the way. If you don't, we're going to try and react off that. So for him to still be doing all right, statistically, going into the second half is a pretty good sign.
Well, this is going to be quite a fast round. John's already going in there. I'm scared of this guy on attack with a Blade Storm.
He's just tanking
Fnatic are too. They're playing a hard retake, and of course they are. Look at what Magnum has to work with.
No one's destroyed the turret, finally.
Doing 50 damage to Timmy. All right. So we're going to have double lockdowns coming into play. That's going to be an interesting scenario. Hyber already caught one, but is he ready? Oh, he shouldn't be. Why would he? That's a great kill.
Oh.
A little bit awkward.
The thing is, they only really had pistols in this round anyway, so they're just trying to get what they can. Cowanzine with a nice shot, but they've already managed to defuse. And for Jandy here, he's got an operator, so he's just going to hold on to that. That's a good round. Like, again,
round.
you just bring yourself through an operator. All you had was pistols. Okay, you had to burn a couple of ults along the way, but they're ones that a lot, especially when you look at lockdown nowadays, it's the most countered ult in the entire game. Like, most of the time, you're never going to get to use it. So using it in a round like this to just get you some space and get a plant, it's not bad.
And it's also, Feroth was just about to get his Hunter's Fury online, so it's not there. He'd also used a Shock Dart already, so that put them in a position where they're like, okay, this is a pretty good ult to use right now. Force Fnatic to move a little bit faster.
They're playing a KO Sova. Like, it's the best comp for destroying that ult.
I mean, chuck a breach in there as well, and you're just really ruining someone's day.
Yeah, true.
But yeah. Right, almost thinking he'll do it with an op as well. The guy's just being ludicrous, running in through B site, in through the smoke versus a low buy. It's something to witness. He's got that operator, and we'll see exactly what he's going to do with it. Hyber has some other ideas as well, and he's actually watching the same angle, but he's pulled off it. He's heard a player inside of mid putting up that turret, and he wanted to go and look for anyone coming out of market. His timing is going to be key. Oh, again, they miss each other. Ships in the night, and eventually John will land the shot. But it's Magnum that he's taken down, now swinging wider. Hybrid will catch, will trade. And Shanji's losing some HP, but they've got the A site for their troubles.
Yeah, there wasn't much to stop them because of the setup that was in onto mid, so it's this same after plant, which Fnatic have been relatively good at getting back in on. They also have nearly all of their utility. They didn't use
Mystic.
any of it in the early stages of this round.
You naughty boy, Mystic. He's holding it. He knows. Oh,
Uh-oh.
oh no, the timing. Oh, the timing.
Okay, he gets there in the end. It's fine.
Whew, that wasn't an awkward fight. All right, so NIP in a position on site. 3 players left alive. Fnatic are going to be blitzing in. They've even got the Blade Storm to work with here. Hyber looking to find some victims, and there goes Mystic, but NIP just can't find the kills. They need BNJ, the last man alive, to go huge. No one's cleared down below. He's already got 2. BNJ gets it done. 11 rounds for NIP.
Wow.
This guy is an animal on the A site.
Well, that's what you call a Red Bull clutch. Like put that one in the montage. That was ridiculous. And then this is the thing. Clear under Balk from now on, forever. Check it. Even if you're sure, send a first player in under the Balk, have a look around, then they leave, and then send another player in just to check if BNJ is hiding there, because that is now 2 rounds that he has won from the exact same position because they could not kill him.
That's a big miss. A big miss. Post-plant under Heaven play. And it's not expected. I mean, they're going to be kicking themselves after that one. And we talked about the importance of that round. Everything in the setup was done perfectly by Fnatic, with Mystic waiting and catching them pushing through, with Hyber trading out the mid-peak where Magnum fell. Everything was done perfectly. And even still, they end up 11-7. That small gap that they left, BNJ just ripped a hole wide open in the game plan. You know, you look at what Fnatic have to work with in this round, they can still make it work, but
drone.
It's now or never.
I always love that. You hear the drone, 0 point, no information. And they've still got this little trap play of 3 players waiting. And with everybody on the other side of the map, the problem is, because we've seen so many of these stack-ups, Fnatic can't really take in much map control anymore. So they're just sat within their setup, no mid-presence at all, in fact. And maybe that's because it hasn't really been pressured a huge amount from the opposing side. So they're just waiting for this take to come through. And because nothing's been seen by NIP, they're going to start doubling back.
Fearoth still has his recon to play with. It's come back online a little while ago. We haven't seen it popped out anywhere. It feels like he's keeping that for a reactive play. As they start to push in, Hyber going to be finding one from afar. The Odin trying to take him down and doing a damn good job of it. Boaster, oh, he's going to be caught. That play not quite working out. Fearoth will do his best from up above. 2 kills already under his belt. He's ready for more, but has to back out. 10 seconds left. Hunter's Fury to try and tag them, take them down, but he won't be able to deny the spike plant. He won't be able to get the kill with it either.
Close.
And Magnum, well, he almost catches him shifting over towards the boxes. But they've missed it again, and this is so scary. That Odin tucked in the corner. Bezany able to react off the back of it, and that's so beautiful from NIP. Now on map point.
Yeah, they're playing off of each other so well. I think that's a real kicker with this squad, is these trades back and forth every single time, the little setups that they have, just to make sure that the players are in a solid position to actually turn the round back. And, well, Fearoth gave it a damn good go after the initial play didn't go their way, but it was this clutch because realistically, both the remaining players were low. It was only this crossfire that made it work, and Bezany right at the end, just closing out the round. 12-7. NIP are actually going to take a timeout themselves because, well, we see this many times before with the Brazilian teams given that opportunity, fighting up against, well, maybe not the full force, entries, but they haven't needed them. They've been finding those entries without too much hassle. So I think that this is looking like the beginning of the end, and Fnatic are going to have to pull out a miracle here.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a Hail Mary play. I mean, look at this. 3 Spectres to work with. As the timer hits 0, NIP get to dictate the pace here on the attack. The Ares early round, not going to find Fearoth anything. NIP were playing that Odin wallbang every single round, so they know well to avoid those early sprays, and it's a fast play in through market, but Fnatic have stacked up with 3 players currently on the site. The weaker weapon's going to be put to the test. Hyber already finding the first, but they've let John right through. He's come in through market, taken the first, and now look at Shanxi in through the smoke. This is a textbook play for NIP, apparently. Oster not able to get anything done. This is left down to Fearoth. He's got to take down the final 3 players, and Spike is right in front of him. He's even upgraded to a Vandal. He's not going to be detected up close, but the flash is about to come around the corner. That is huge for Shanxi. Those flashes have been, hands down, the most impactful KO flashes that I have seen
minor timing points that have to be built around when he's going, that's really difficult to coordinate, and that's why it seemed, in my opinion, like they started off strong. Worry about Fnatic and their attacking half. If they're going to continue to have a Hyber on the Jet, the coordination is going to be harder to keep up with.
I mean, outside of like Hyber, obviously with his first kills and whatnot, the only other player on Fnatic that attempted, which I'm not sure whether is intended on this map, if it's part of the strategy, Magnum died to the first kills the most out of anyone on the side of Fnatic. Now that's odd. He is the killjoy. He's not necessarily one of the front runners to take those opening engagements. Maybe a little bit of responsibility Magnum feels on his shoulders to step up to the plate now that there's a couple of newbies, you know, inside. He needs to step back. He needs to trust those players to be able to do their role. Hyber did a good job. He was well positive in his first opening engagements. So hopefully that's sort of settled back, and they've seen as a result of that map, even though they didn't win, that players like Hyber and whatnot can step up and he can play a little bit more of that supportive role.
I mean, similarly, Fnatic, they've been in these situations before. One map down, this is not new to them, but one member on their team boasted the in-game leader usually kind of picks them back up. We've got him right now for the AIM Lab shoot-around as he is warming up for the game, but
Matchup again, the subs, everything that's gone on there for a position like this, it is going to be difficult. I think if we turn our attention over to Nip as well, continue to play loose, right? Like continue to play fast. It's working. You caught Fnatic off, or you caught him off a couple of times in an unexpected situation where they weren't able to react and respond in a way that would have been deemed appropriate, and that kind of kept Fnatic on their back foot. I mentioned at the beginning of the series it was going to be dictated by pace, right? Who's going to be able to set the pace and keep it that way? I mean, Nip had that from beginning to end.
I mean, this is the concerning thing, right? Because Nib, throughout all of last map, they just played their game. They didn't do anything out of the ordinary that we didn't expect from them. And it's working, Doug, and it's working so beautifully. So do you feel like that's the way to close out this series?
Potentially. And look, the thing that we were watching, we were actually sitting here on the desk and we're going, they're just 5 hitting the side every time, right? It seems like how is Fnatic not adjusted? Nip, started adding layers to their adjustments late on their attacking half that kind of kept Fnatic once again on the back foot a bit. So it really isn't just like a 5-man hit the site very quickly and just kind of frag and duel your way through it, they are showing that there is depth to how they approach these attacking rounds, and I think that can be problematic.
It's also funny as well because I hail Magnum as being one of the best smoke lurkers that I've almost ever watched in my life. The way that he can stand in a smoke and know how to manipulate the positioning of the map is awesome, but he's being played and fed his own medicine. You think about that map number 1, and I said he was one of the first opening kills round after round. They kept trying to play his game inside the smoke, and the man went, hey, that's my game. Get out of the smoke. I'm the one that's meant to be lurking in the smoke. He just had nowhere to move, and it's almost terrifying to go up against a team that uses your own tactics against you. We're going on to Split, where a lot of these kind of smokes and whatnot, I expect Omen to come out. You know, that's going to be in the play here. So, I mean, does Magnum go, oh, I can't lurk in the smoke, can't really play my own game here. I'm dying a lot on the first kill when I shouldn't be. So how do I play from now on? What's the sort of win condition for me moving forward?
Yeah, well, I think we should talk about that. And usually I feel like the answer is, oh, Durka's there. You know, Durka can bail you out. Durka's going to come and rescue you. But Hyber was the one kind of doing a lot of that on Ascent. Coming into Split, do you feel like he is going to be, well, an ace is nice and helpful for your team, but how much of a difference are we seeing here? Do you think this is a result of them missing a Durka, or is Hyber already kind of a competent replacement?
Yinsu, stop. If we compare anyone to
Okay, over to you, Mitch and Tom.
Sue trying to take all of the jobs, it seems. Like, coming in for our casting as well. She was like, they love Split, but I love it more. Just take it over.
Yeah, we've already had John taken down, one of the key players for NIP on this attack side. I mean, it's going to be a speed round if we've ever seen one. Fnatic over on this defense, starting it out on Split, and you can see there's 2 players. There's a Poison Orb down as well, so they've got a decent bit of slowing if NIP decide to blitz through onto the A site. But Heaven is wide open for the taking. There's the flash, information going their way. Now it's time to win those duels, and Magnum's in trouble. He's gone down, but these players are tagged up, and Boaster's taking advantage for 2. That's the man advantage still to play with for Fnatic. Well, that's not quite the TP he was looking for, but it's good because BNJ can then plant the spike and maybe he'll go up thereafter. Probably not, hopefully not, because Fnatic are already waiting and Mystics picked off his teammate. Oh, well, good night.
It's not the round for Shadow Steps. It's not the round.
No, it hasn't quite done him any favors on that one. There's Fearoth getting the defuse. Well, maybe not. There's Hyber getting the defuse. Both of those players topping out the scoreboard overall in the last map. They lost 13-7, and yet these super subs of Fearoth and Hyber were doing a lot of the heavy lifting. We'll see if that's gonna be the same here on Split. It certainly needs to be, because this is comfort ground for NIP.
Yeah, and one of the things that is going to be interesting, I will say it's not necessarily an agent that I think that, oh, you're really going to struggle like having to pick that one up, but Fearoth is known for his Sova. Now, this is obviously a map where, okay, a few teams test Sova out here and there, but he's having to fill in on the Sage. I don't think it's going to be a massive problem because it is one of those agents where I feel like a lot of the utilities fairly simplistic, fairly basic, but it's something I'll definitely keep an eye on because the composition's changed a little bit, maybe just to give Boaster a little bit more space to almost take those aggressive fights, but more so, I think it could also get them that extra information so that Fearoth can actually place his utility a little bit better at times.
Well, with that first round under their belt, Fnatic now face off against
a force.
Fine. And NIP have quickly taken it into Heaven. That is Fnatic caught off guard again. Mystic's going to have to... Oh, wow. That paranoia was perfect, and it even just confirms that he's here. They blitz in from all angles and take him down. Another fantastic execute from NIP. The way these guys apply pressure, you can see that Fnatic just cannot keep up with this pace.
Remaining.
Jandy already looking like he's put the nail in the coffin. It's left all onto Boaster. 1 versus 4, and well, not really getting the luck that he was probably hoping for, spamming in that smoke. This is the one thing I will say you have to love watching about NIP. Fearless, investing straight back into the round, knowing that they can try and put the pressure straight back onto Fnatic, especially playing on that attacking side. Making sure you get off to a strong start is always going to be important, building up that economy. And oh no, don't do it. Don't do it. I thought he was going to get knifed. Instead, he's just kind of sat on his head.
Well, that's one way to do it.
What?
First round for NIP found here on the attack. That's a force by round 2. That has found a lot of success. And, well, I mean, that spells exactly the sort of... the walls just going up again and again. Yeah, it spells a big problem for Fnatic. If they're going to be caught off like that, round 2 coming in, NIP having had the success on the previous map and the confidence that they had onto Shanji, onto John, it's no surprise that they force buy like that, but it certainly looked like Fnatic weren't expecting it.
No, that's for sure. And again, this is a style that, although I think NIP at times can be quite readable, I don't think it's necessarily something Fnatic are going to be used to playing. Like you think of the likes of FPX, this slow, defaulty style of play, working things out with different pieces of information, slowly picking you apart, and NIP are just like, let's go.
There's very few teams that will play the game the way NIP just did in that round, especially with the pace that they've come in. And I don't know if they would have done that had the previous map had seen less success from those kind of plays. And I think in EMEA, I think most teams that play like that are pretty bad. So you're not going to be in a... if they're blitzing you down like that in a force buy, they're not going to have the success. But these NIP guys are unbelievable. I mean, just the entry ability of Shanji and John alone blows my mind. Coming to round number 3, as you can see, Fnatic aren't going to have the same force buy. It's just pistols. And they've successfully gambled on the right side here for NIP. Moving into the A side, it's wide open, Boaster's down, and now they can just play ranged duels.
Yeah, and the thing for Fnatic here is almost, do you even want to try and give these players the chance to actually farm up their ultimate orb, or if you want to try and die to the spike? Like, you can try and hold them in on the way out, make some cash of your own, maybe get rid of some of the weaponry, but if you're just facing into them, this is just farming for the side of NIP, and that just looked a little disjointed. If you're going to invest that paranoia, I want to see it done so that other players can push onto it, not just as a final sort of like, hey, maybe I'll get a kill.
That could have been very bad as well. We saw those final kills picked up by Besney and by BNJ. So, yeah, okay, you're Cypher and you're Omen. That's fine.
Yeah.
Give them the ult orbs because you've actually got Shanji just 2 away from his ultimate. He's currently sitting 5 kills and 1 death. And then you look at Kawazine. He's also in the same position, about to have his ulti online. And, you know, with a Prime Gaming Flawless on top of that, it's not just the ult economy that's overflowing. NIP have got plenty of credits here as well.
Yeah, and then there's not going to be a change. Straight away, Paranoia are up so that they can take control in towards the heaven. Magnum just spams through, though, and already finds the opener. Shanji quick up front and almost manages to take the pick, but it's a slaughter up top, leaving just 1 man standing. Now, BNJ, he's been good at clutches. He's been pretty good, Mitch, but it's not happening.
No. You know, this is a round I can 100% get behind for NIP. I think that play clearly didn't work, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't take a genius to say that, but the reality is they've had success from these blitz plays so often that, yeah, you just throw those.
You sure we don't need to tell us, right?
Try to close in. Maybe we do, actually. Yeah, we can probably break it down a little bit, you know. What I will say, though, is Magnum Snakebite, fantastic. He's ready for that blitz play to come through, whether it was going to be the dash out of John, whether it was Blast Pack play coming out of Shanji. It didn't matter. That Snakebite was going to catch them. He sprays down afterwards, and even if the player comes through, he's going to get tagged down by the wall. It's an easy kill with so many players up in heaven. It was a well-handled round, but that was a blitz that Fnatic were ready for. And we've already seen what happens when they're not ready for them. So this is going to have to be high alert from this point forward, because remember, they've only dealt with the bonus round at this point.
I feel like BNJ is basically just spending his time trying his best to bait them into swinging him, and the rest of the team, well, we got the spike. Like, we're not going to move, no reason to do anything. Calm and collected from Fnatic, and it's a Prime Gaming Flawless right back, so there you go. Both teams going to be doing decently in terms of their economic position going into the next round, but this is where we expect to see the Ninjas actually look to break back. They're going to have the rifles very close to a couple of fairly impactful ults on their side as well, and for Fnatic, okay, you've got yourself the Seekers already available, and potentially a Viper's Pit. They could somehow get an orb, but realistically, I'm much more looking at the likes of the Rez and the Showstopper, which will soon be coming up for NIP.
Yeah, as we said, they were just 2 away in the previous round. No kills, no orbs, no plans for them moving into the previous, so...
And they still got service. You gonna let that one sit?
I think so. Let it breathe.
Mystic in a very aggressive position. They did not expect it to be here. I don't know what the exit strategy was, though. Just a very one-and-done position for him, which, okay, it might catch them off guard. And as I said, they've got the res, so it doesn't really play much in this round whatsoever. And for the remainder, you can already see Hyber still trying to be a little bit more aggressive, and Fearoth as well, just attempting to slow them down. But, well, he's going to have to do an awful lot. It does seem, however, that they've got a good read, because Boaster's already rotating into position.
Big problem, though. There's that other ultimate we mentioned, and it's looking for some players. Oh, he's found them as well. Goodbye, Fearoth. And maybe the spray down. Sure, Shanji doesn't get it, but his teammates converted. The site's theirs, and it looks like the round might be 1v4 now with just Boaster left alive, and he loses his head quite quickly. This is NIP. A stranglehold on the game right now. Fnatic came in, they find a couple of rounds, but when it comes to weapons in their hands, NIP look convincing, and now, thanks to that Prime Gaming Flawless, Fnatic will still be able to buy at least. So it's a lifeline in the early stages of the defense.
Yeah, and now they have all of the ultimates as well. So it likely will swing back in their favor. I think the main problem I have is it almost seemed like a misread on the ultimates that were on the other side. Like, if you're going to have Mystic that aggressive with no backup plan, if he gets a kill and goes down, okay, it's not the end of the world. But if they have a res, it's worthless.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, you know, in a situation like that, I'm expecting him to almost paranoia. But for him to do that, he needs to have a player peeking out from vents. He needs to have a player coming out from heaven. And Hyber was stuck behind the smoke. He wasn't able to assist. So really, it was good counter by NIP as well to make sure those angles were constantly cut off. At this time, smoke goes down, same place, but NIP are going to play right through it. They want to try to take this control. Reactions there from Fearoth to put the slow on the floor, but that doesn't keep NIP back. Not for long anyways. The nade, it's not going to come through. In fact, they're just allowing these guys to make their way forward, and then Hyber pops the showstopper. A double kill for that man. That leaves BNJ all alone. And he is found and taken down. Fnatic with a third. That's a round they needed.
Yeah, I like the fact that they play things a little bit more passively into Heaven. Like, they have the slows coming through from Fearoth, which means that the risks that have to be taken from NIP are quite a bit higher as they start to push through that utility. But then you also just have the nice little crossfire from down below, which isn't cleared, and obviously the showstopper definitely helped. But NIP are going to take themselves as a tactical timeout. Now, that's it.
Huge positive for NIP, knowing that there's not going to be a part of the map, which typically will be middle, just locked down from the get-go.
Yeah, especially with a couple of other old Spacey being either reactive or information, I guess, for the side of Fnatic. I don't think that it will be the most defining factor in this one. By the looks of things, though, there might be an early one-way being set up over on B, so I wouldn't be overly surprised. He's actually fake TP'd to bait them into thinking that he's gone aggressive. That's Mystic over on the B side, so almost faking that information, and in fact, for now at least, we're going to see them doubling back to try and put some pressure on aim. Maybe because they know they've lost that control, or it could just be a coincidence.
Yeah, you never know. But what I do know is Hybrid's about to take a fight. He's up above in Heaven, and he's got a teammate, Boaster, covering the cross. And he's playing reactive on the back of Boaster's flash once he sees them come across. There's the flash, it pops, nade going down, and there's a player coming up close to him, but after seeing that nade, they've decided to back on off. Moving to the A site through main, walling off Heaven. That's Control going their way. John taking a bit of a risk going back out, but Hybrid narrowly misses the shot, keeping NIP into a 5v5. Oh, Mystic! He's been caught. Great game sense from BNJ.
Yeah, he tries to TP back and it just doesn't work out. They've still got to try and clear this man, and again, that's just so difficult. BNJ just a rock at the back of the site, and well, the problem now is they've had to invest this res and they still haven't got rid of him. He's even just going to maneuver elsewhere, and they haven't cleared John. He just sits in the corner, leaving Fearoth all alone to try and clutch it once again, and BNJ even gets that final kill. He is so difficult just to maneuver from different positions, and well, Fnatic completely fail at clearing just one man.
Yeah, again and again, BNJ just seems to make the impossible happen. I don't know how this guy is able to keep control. Look at the previous map, A site. On the back side, he had so many clutches there. This time around, he's holding down their back, then TPing screens, and finishing off the round by trading out Fearoth. Altogether, that's BNJ's round. He has dominated it and left Fnatic in a pretty tough spot where, again, their economy is just in the bin.
Yeah, the thing I really like as well is that although the focal point of that round is always going to be BNJ, rude.
I'll tell you what, this is genuinely, and I think Jess made a great point. It's like rolling back the years, man. Going back to old G2, essentially, when it comes to NIP, with the way you're seeing insanely strong individuals. They've got a good game plan. I don't know how good their pivoting is, but they haven't needed to so far. They are reacting perfectly off each other in these rounds. Like you said, BNJ TPs into screens, and immediately John repositions based on that. It is split-second decision-making that is ultimately showing to be a well-oiled, maybe Puggy machine when we came into the tournament, but I doubt that even now. This is clean gameplay. And when you look at Fnatic, the way that you want to beat a style like NIP is with hard structure, and unfortunately with limited time to prepare and 2 stand-ins, it's not exactly possible to come in and be the most structured team. And again, they had the best chance of being that team on Ascent. Now they're on Split, where NIP wanted to play, and it's a completely different ballgame like we're seeing.
Again, information-wise, they've spotted Zhanji in mid, but this has been a fairly normal occurrence out from the side of NIP. They like to pressure that mid control, make sure Fnatic can't get too aggressive, as we saw from Mystic in the early rounds, and then they fall back into what is basically a default play, and Bezany on the other side is just selling this fake into A. It means there can't be any sort of rotation, but with the smoke down, it would have to be basically a pop straight through it. Now, they don't have the flashes available for that, so they're just going to walk straight in dry, but Fearoth only gets 1.
They know Mystic's on the back of the side as well from that paranoia, so he's going to be taken down immediately. Hyber might want to try to blitz on site, but look who's waiting for him. John's in the corner. Oh, blast pack to try to push him into the nade. That's cheeky. Bezany's being caught on the mid lurk too. This opens up an avenue of approach for Fnatic, at least, still having Magnum online as they move towards the site, but that wall's already being used up. Utility's going to be limited. Snakebite to site doesn't find them. Good spam, but not following through for the kill. And John's still alive down below, although he'll be dealt with. Magnum in the 1v1 to try and clutch this out, but it's BNJ again on the other side of that smoke. He's tucked into the right, and Magnum won't catch him. NIP get away with another 5-3. We now sit. This attack side just keeps racking up the rounds.
Yeah, you can almost see the slight difference, even though they managed to win the round. The fact that they were playing that one more passively and lost their lurk a little bit earlier on, it definitely seemed like Fnatic had much more of an opportunity in this sort of position. Luckily, you still just have someone like John able to just win these individual fights, and it was only because Magnum actually pulled out 3 kills that one even became particularly close. And now you start to get into real dangerous territory for Fnatic. 5-3 down, no economy to really play with in this round. Okay, you've got yourself a Viper's Pit, and I think they might actually throw it in. I'm seeing a Spectre onto Magnum. It seems peculiar to buy that if you're not actually going to use the ult.
It could be to set himself up as well, though, if they want to play a retake at some point. I like the fact that they play early aggression and don't just gamble, hold down one part of the map with it. But now that you've not seen them, you know, those rotations have to start coming through, and they are. Question is, are NIP going to commit to the B site? I'd be quite surprised. They haven't found a pick. They're not seeing Fnatic trying to really keep them back or even take those fights on range.
Look at this reaggress.
Now they're realizing there's probably a push out of the defense here. NIP are trying to catch it.
They're right on the edge of them. Only a couple to play. Like, this is definitely going to be a surprise. And bear in mind, Magnum's the one with the gun in hand. So the first player going down isn't so much of a problem. Shandy, I think he's aware. He's baited him in, but Magnum will win the fight anyway, and then fall back to try and put this pressure onto B once again.
John still tucked in the corner. Look at that. The timing was perfect to distract Mystic, pulling his crosshair away. Nade and Snakebite down to the site, but the spike has made it out successfully, and BNJ waiting in the middle to catch that rotation. Finds massive results for that. Hyper got to do it all, and he realizes now that they're rotating. Honestly, he probably just tries to grab a weapon here from one of those downed enemies. I don't even know if he'll want to go for it once he gets that in hand.
Oh, it doesn't seem like he is. He's just going to run back towards the site, maybe try and catch someone else, make things a bit more costly. The one thing that isn't really there at the moment for NIP is that extra economy. So any extra kills he can get could at least make the latter rounds of the half a little bit tougher. They're going to know exactly where he is if BNJ doesn't give him the time of day. Already dropped 6-3 in favor of the Ninjas, and Fnatic, well, they need a turnaround right now because this is already getting way too far out of control.
Yeah, it really is. You know, the defensive side is split. To tie up is really not ideal, and that's the best case scenario right now, the base result for Fnatic. 10 seconds left. Take a look at what they're going to be buying up when we get back in. There you go. They got their rifles to play with. They've got still that Viper's Pit, having not been invested previous round. This time a bit of a change, though. So you see Magnum right away is willing to put this one down.
Yeah, just opting to try and lock down this side of the map. I don't think that's really going to deter NIP too much. In fact, you can already see a couple of players trying to pressure it, but they've had so much success at being able to shut down Mystic on this B site as the solo defender. Like, I really don't think that so far his Omen has really worked out for him, at least on the last couple of maps. So they've been trying to find if he's looking to get cheeky, looking to get aggressive, but in this round at least it's much more passive from Fnatic.
Yeah, you see that even in the orb control, Tom. I mean, they gave it up completely in B main. We've had the orb taken by Cowanzine, who's now one away from getting the res back up again. And this is a big concern. 2 players still towards the A side of the map holding down this control. And NIP are going to be doing what has worked for them again and again, splitting in through Heaven and trying to fight the B site. They need a ton of utility, but they don't really. They sort of waited back for it. Showstopper not finding it, but he still gets the kill down below. This is unbelievable. There just seems to be nothing that NIP can do wrong.
No, what he did was wrong. It was disgusting. I feel gross, but like it's just the way that he flies into the site. The Showstopper gets absolutely nothing because of all of the counter utility, and then just has that reaction instant headshot. Like that's a desk breaker. Like someone's just hit a loud bang on the stage with a punch through the desk, because ultimately, at least in the early stages of that round, Fnatic didn't do anything wrong, but then NIP just come and break their whole setup apart.
Yeah, I mean, that is absolutely unbelievable. The fact that you see him fire the Showstopper, fly through the air down below, being shot at the whole way, and then land and stylishly just tap away, take the kill. Like, oh, were you shooting me, bro? Sorry about that. NIP hunting down the final rifle. Magnum is surrounded from all sides. He's paranoid up and about to be dropped on. Oh, can't even get out with the weapon. 7 rounds secured for NIP, and look at Fnatic's economy. When we get back out of this, you'll see they're not in the prettiest of spots.
Yeah, and on the other side, they're not in a bad place at all. Like, sure, they've been taking casualties here and there, but that round was definitely cleaner, and especially in the manner in which they sort of blasted their way in towards the site, like, you kind of expect them to take more of a hit there. Like, they basically pushed into a slow where there had just been a nade and still managed to get a double entry into the site, and that is just the force of the 2 players that you currently have in the form of Xiandi and John. Like, the fact that they are able to just still get those opening kills for their squad, and I think that's the real issue. Like, we talk about reliance. I believe there was a tweet that we saw where it was like, team's reliance on their individual, or on their star performer, that was it. And I think with Fnatic, Durka was the highest. Like, it was something like, if he doesn't get, I think it was like 275 ACS in a map, there's like a 60-something% chance they'll lose, which is absurd. It was so much higher than everyone else.
Yeah. That's pretty ridiculous. And you look at what they're missing coming into this. They brought it up on the desk that it's big boots to fill, really, when it comes to...
Impossible boots to fill.
Oh, absolutely. He is literally, statistically,
they have completely different size
world.
feet, Mitch.
What size are Durka's feet? Who's got bigger feet?
Oh, his have to be like a size 17.
You reckon?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
The man's packing.
So, now, listen, we're back into the game, and the HUD's been on and off. I almost hope this is a bug. Why are there 3 judges?
Oh, no. It's not even Bucky FC anymore. There's one. There's one.
Boaster is.
I like how it's your man who's the only sane one within the bunch.
Thank you, Fearoz. Why? Oh my God! Oh my God, Boaster!
Oh, no.
I hate it. I hate it so much. They haven't checked it. They're running through. Oh, Boaster! He's only good for the 1. That could have been massive, but 1 kill found. Fnatic on the back foot again.
Now what are you gonna do? The double judge Bucky retake. Things you never want to see. Oh, well, Bezany is not going to be happy with that one. Mystic now he's looking for the ultimate clutch. This would be the biggest flex of his entire career if he was able to somehow pull this one home, and unfortunately NIP are just giving him no chance.
I would have booked NIP's flight home if they lost this 1v3, to be honest. I would have been sat outside the venue in the truck ready to drive them to the airport. You can't lose a 1v3 to a judge, and NIP make that very clear. Shanji with a 3K to close this out. That puts him in a world where he could have a showstopper if this round goes crazy. But realistically, at 8-3, it's not like NIP are clutching for straws. They're not out here going, oh, we need a showstopper to win the round. And even this, they run in through the poison orb. They leave Boaster unchecked with a judge.
Yeah, it was so close to him getting so much more, which is the unfortunate truth of the matter. But the fact is, NOP already 8 rounds in the attacking side of Split. This is a dominant performance, whether you like it or not. And, well, for the players on Fnatic, I think a 4th is a lifeline at best.
Well, here comes the paranoia to start. They're worried about maybe a judge up close. I wonder why. Well, he's on the side already. Shanji's blast packing in, opening it up. John trades out. They've got site control. Magnum's going to try and contest.
Oh, no.
That was not pretty. Not pretty at all. 5 versus 2. Mystic grabbing a couple of kills. This maybe makes it doable. And Firot's one away from res.
Yeah, there's at least a possibility here. He's going to try and fake out the TP to the side. The problem is the wraparound. There is the kill for Firot. Now they can look to try and find the res, but he's dropped down. No! He's missed out the player, and he's still got caught, but he still manages to land the kills. What have I just witnessed? That's the ugliest clutch in Valorant history, but it's a round on the board for Fnatic.
Tom, I'm looking at the wall, and it's making as much sense to me as the game was. What was that? How did that happen? Firot dropped down. He didn't even manage to res him. He spent literally
shake your hands in the air like you're a true player. That's the line, isn't it? That's what he was doing.
literally, what, 10 seconds? He's jumping around with a res in his hand. just trying to res up on the balcony. That is unbelievable. What a round.
What does Doug think of that play?
Yeah, I'm going to need to hear from Doug for that one.
Doug?
The play was there, right?
Can you give us a rendition?
everything
Sue
they've
isn't
got
doing
on the
pistol
table.
rounds?
Huh?
Sue, I thought I had a longer break
I thought
because
she was
Sue does the
casting this
pistol
one.
rounds.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to renegotiate after
Okay.
this one. Sort that one out.
I need to be paid more.
Yeah, it's all right. She's gonna go on a drink.
Oh, she's coming around now. Don't worry.
All right, she's on the way.
Okay.
I've got her headset ready. Let's get it done. And we're at 8-4, coming back into things. Look, Fnatic got a lifeline, picking up that final round.
Come on, Sue.
God damn it! This is for Sue, isn't it? 'Cause she wasn't up here already.
Yeah.
We're waiting for her. Sorry, Fnatic. Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
But look, 4 rounds for Fnatic. It's pretty terrible. I'm not gonna lie about that. They're on the attack side now. This is going to be a huge uphill battle. And you know, the main thing that worries me is But look, 8-4. We're diving back into things at last. The tech pause has subsided. We've refreshed the server. They've unplugged it, plugged it back in, done that a few more times, and now we're ready to roll. The defensive side of NIP, early aggression is what I'm expecting. I mean, this team is just overflowing with confidence right now, and they know that Fnatic don't have the protocols there to deal with the all-out aggression when they bring it to the table.
Yeah, the interesting thing as well is how the executions are actually going to go for Fnatic, because sure, you're going to have Hyber as the tip of the spear, but you can't really afford any level of mistakes because you know that NIP are going to be right on you if you have anything of the sort. Now, we're going to see an early aggressive camera. I imagine that was heard, but it's still just going to give the information. And the other information they get is from this double duelist mid-peak.
No more charges left.
You know, you say peak, right? They're having a little bit of a look.
They peaked.
They're gazing down every so often. Yeah, they unpeaked right after. They're tucked in. And I'm kind of surprised. You know, I said early aggression is what I expect. I expect confidence off the bat, but NIP are clearly looking to close this out. They're not trying to mess around, not trying to give any advantage to Fnatic. And the pistol round really, it could be so valuable for this attacking side. It looks like we've got a fake being set up here with Boaster. Holding for any B main aggression. Probably going to pop his util in towards B. And they'll blitz out afterwards. They've got a decent setup for this as well. They're able to block out Heaven and use their wall to cross over. So not too bad.
He's pulled the rotation as well. Kawazin going to have an awful lot to do in just a moment's time, but he's put the slow down. He's bought himself at least a moment or two, and it looks like they're just setting up for the retake, with the rest of the players still be able to run back. He's doing that with a classic, just tapping heads through the utility, and whoa, okay, sure, it will be the site taken from Fnatic, but again, look how fast that rotation's already come through.
Of course, you got John picking up Mystic there. Another frag for NIP as they gear up for this full push. Boaster trapped down in sewers. He's so far away. And the rest of the team's falling. Fearock does his best, but only the one to be found initially. And that went exactly as you expected in the 1v4. NIP have picked up the pistol, and that is another nail in Fnatic's coffin with 9 rounds on the board now. What did Fnatic do? We saw NIP lose the first pistol and then force buy and completely overrun Fnatic, but I don't feel like we're going to see the same out of the attack side for Fnatic now.
The other thing as well is a lot of the force buy. Sure, plant, that's the main necessity, but you also like to get a few kills just because it gets you those extra few pieces of utility. They got 1 kill, so it's not like there's really any extra cash that they can play with if they're going to go for a force here. So I expect this one to be an eco. I don't really expect to see much put into the round whatsoever. And again, like, this is likely to put 10 on the board for that defensive side going in. Like, I wouldn't really be counting on any team to be able to bring that back, especially not one when you look at Fnatic, who have desperately struggled in recent times to actually play on this attacking side. Bear in mind, the last time they played this map, Mitch, they got 0 rounds on the attack. And that was the first half.
Yeah, it's not great, actually. Yeah. 0 out of 12.
Yeah, and then you remember the previous one, you should do, it was 44 rounds. I think they got 3. Now, we then did see in overtime 10 attacking rounds in a row, but this time they can't afford to get 3 in regulation because in case anybody can't do the math, they will have lost.
Yeah. This is certainly not the easiest of games for Fnatic, and we know all the issues that they're dealing with. But NIP is the main issue. Now look, 1 kill on the board already is decent. But Fnatic need to get more out of it.
Just what John is.
Like, the man's a lunatic. He honestly, he's deranged. He just runs at them and takes map control with sheer confidence. And the thing is...
Have you seen Rogue One?
Yeah.
Have you seen the guy who's like, I'm one with the Force is with me.
Yeah,
Just walks out in front of, I am one with the Force is with me. Just walks out in front of all of the bullets. That's John.
It's unreal. Here he is, catching the rotate. Hey, Mystic. Oh, a little tag, and he's dashing into him. Of course he is.
Hey, he wants to get that Blade Storm. He's trying to edge towards it at least. And
10 seconds.
Well, the remaining players, if anything, on Fnatic just have to die. Boaster's found 1, but at this point, yeah, going down is the more important thing just to make sure he gets that additional cash. Now, all in all for an eco for Fnatic, Mitch, it's not bad. Considering the scoreline, I imagine they would have hoped they could have got a little more.
Yeah, look, it's definitely, it is still going to be one of those rounds that you can shrug off and brush off. But
yeah,
at 10-4, you're running out of any sort of runway. At this point, Fnatic need to step it up, and this is a very important round because in the previous game we saw a similar situation to this where NIP, where they were in a much worse spot even. They had 2 Spectres and then they had a few pistols, ragtag group of pistols to back them up. For Fnatic, They were on a full buy, and they got destroyed. I think, was it a flawless round that we saw then? It was very close to anyways. The point being, they better win this round right now, and NIP get to use these weaker weapons on the defense, so they can hold these nasty angles and try to initiate on their own terms.
Just looking at John's position, just sat in the smoke. He almost wins that duel. Feroz has to actually heal himself back, but luckily it was only a Spectre on the other side, so they will get off to a strong start. This is a current crunch on mid. Like, they know that there's that extra piece of utility. Jandy waiting patiently for anybody to go for that peek, and more importantly, they are going to spot both players currently in towards Heaven, but that might actually almost convince them to go back towards Jandy, which is, I feel like that's a worse decision, just because it's him.
Yeah. Also, there's 3 players on this A side of the map. Obviously, no way for Fnatic to know that. Great flash. Gonna be moving over to the B side. Good call by Fnatic. They're playing this one blind.
Close hyper.
No need for that now. Boaster's going to be sending some angry messages. I'm kidding. I don't think Boaster can get angry. I think it's possible. That's the plan secured, at least for Fnatic. And now 5 versus 4. NIP will try to just do what damage they can.
Yeah, chances of much, slim, but they do still have the paranoia. That's why he sat outside the back of the site. He's looking to just try and almost create an incredibly awkward position for the remaining players of Fnatic as the rest of his team come through. Now, they've got to try and break the wall up top, which is going to give information that there's at least players wrapping back around. And they are all kind of locked into the site. Now, sure, they had the exit through B. There's the paranoia. Feroz has to drop down, but he has cover. And that's the main thing. B&J, though, actually wins that battle. They can't really lose too much more. Bear in mind how many buy rounds are probably going to come back through, and there was a chance for B&J to do some real damage. But again, a couple of kills. It's not bad for NIP, but Fnatic are just going to be happy to get away with that relatively clean.
Yeah, look, Mystic almost went down in the end, and that would have been a tragedy. If they lost him as well, this economy would be completely crippled coming into this round. And even still, it's not in the healthiest of spots, but they can drop over and have a full buy. Again, though, the problem becomes with that little bit of damage that NIP did, they're going to be able to push Fnatic into a pretty uncomfortable spot if they win this round, which, again, NIP are going to come in with rifles to play with. And everybody on that defensive side is damn close to having their ult online.
This is more of what we expected. Wall early on A to just lock out that portion of the map. And then on the other side, John has gone through, but actually Feroz still swings it anyway. The flash, I don't think actually gave the information that he was there, but it did catch his teammate, and that's a little bit more awkward. This patient play from Fnatic has given them that early duel that they wanted, and now they're just still waiting. They're expecting this to be more of a domino effect, Mitch, where someone else is eventually going to swing.
Yeah, and normally that does come through, but I think at this point, NIP have definitely shown their willingness to take these rounds incredibly slow, which has surprised me immensely. Considering the way that the game has gone so far, the way their attack side went, every time that they go for space, they seem to find it successfully. Now, Fnatic were hoping they would do that again. They were waiting for that push to come through, but it doesn't. And so 40 seconds left on the clock. They're going to go for this B split. But limited information. Luckily, they are gambling towards the right side. And that wall is going to completely block out BNJ. The blind doesn't do that much for them, and BNJ goes down. Esni following as well. That's the round secured for Fnatic. NIP have to pretty much go for a save.
Yeah, dismantled. Pick them apart one by one. Controlled and collective from Fnatic. Definitely one of the best rounds we've seen from them. Not the most exciting, but one where they didn't really give them an edge, didn't really give them any position for those players to sort of pop off as we've seen in previous rounds. And if there was ever going to be a way back in for Fnatic, it needed to be on a round like this.
Absolutely. A round like this, both in context of where it is in the game, the fiscal importance of it, but also in the context of how they won it. Flawlessly rushing into the site, taking these duels. It's systematic, and that's what we want. No gaps, clean executions. But getting that done again and again will be difficult. A lot of the time, NIP are going to have 3 players towards this B side of the map. They're not going to have somebody aggressively up in B main to be picked off or anything like that. If they play the same defaults that we've seen from them, it will be tough for Fnatic to repeat this result. But I say tough, not impossible.
No, of course not. And yeah, as I said, one of the better rounds that we've seen from them so far. I'd be interested. So the economy on the other side, obviously they do save a couple of extra guns, but it's not a spot where realistically, they can invest. Although I'm saying that, I'm currently looking on our secret little bot area. I'm seeing Judge bought up for John.
So John's 2 away. They've seen it at home now, so there you go. You got 2 orbs away for John. You buy a Judge, I'm very scared.
That's where he currently is. So I think it's more just going to be an attempt for him to try and get something done, let the weapons play those extremities a little bit more. In fact, it looks like they're gambling them over onto that A site, which, again, Fnatic have sort of had a heavier lean in towards B over the last couple of rounds, so I don't really mind sticking the weapons there just as a bit of a guess. And in the early stages, at least, Fnatic are going to try and basically fight back into mid.
You know what, Tom? Quick shout out to Lothar at home. He was just hitting me up there before the game, letting me know. Apparently, so BNJ wants to be called BNJ, right? We get this little document from the players, and they say like, hey, you know, the coaches or whatever will let us know. But apparently on the NIB website it says Banjo, so I think that must be what it stands for, maybe, or what it used to be. So there you go. He's a Banjo, the Banjo boy. Fnatic moving in towards the B site. We got some aggression out of NIP. Banjo's leading the charge. He's inside of B main. And I mean, this is going to be a double push into a Vandal that Magnum is more than ready for. John, though, still manages to find one peeking into this B site. That's all that he gets done, though. Well handled. Fnatic get the site. They get the plants. Now those 2 rifles on NIP again kind of start thinking, hey, I like the A site this time of year. It's pretty nice. Go hang out for a bit.
It doesn't seem like they're giving it up just yet, though. Both players within heaven
have money.
Maybe hoping that there's going to be an angle to face back into Fearoth. Looking a little different to normal, but he's going to try and sneak his way back from behind. Already one ended and knows the second is there and not overfacing, but he will eventually get the final kill.
You know what I love about that? You see the way he doesn't actually peek the corner? He peeks it and then sprays at the corner, and that gets the reaction there, the pre-fire from his opponent. So he's like, all right, guys, yeah, he's up there. You don't need this, because it was a gray area. He wasn't 100% sure where that guy is, and he doesn't take the risk. I like it. I like seeing those little calculated plays. That's 7 rounds for Fnatic, an important one for sure. But even with those weapons removed, it's important to say that NIP, the reason that they did not run away and try to save those weapons in a 2v4 is because they wanted to do damage. They wanted to maybe try to clutch it out, and they knew that even if they didn't, they'll come into this round in a comfortable spot.
Already again. Patient start for Fnatic. They've done very well at just dismantling any level of aggression. Like, you're starting to see John have to play much more passive positions and not be so aggressively taking the fight as he was. We saw him deep in B main not too long ago, and with the wall currently there again. This is something that basically Fnatic just have to continue to break, but they have to be careful because if Kawazin's on top of it, then it's much more of a problem.
So Rez is online for Fnatic. You've got a Rez and a Blade Storm for NIP that can come through, but it's Shanji, man. He's who I'm worried about. If this guy manages to find a kill, an orb, a plant, well, not a plant, but I'd be pretty worried if he found a plant. Let's go with a defuse on that one.
Insta-plants and just defuse it. Like, yeah, win the round.
That'd be cool, yeah, if you could just take the spike, just hide it somewhere. No, it wouldn't. That would be terrible. Please don't ever add that. 35 seconds left. Fnatic are trying to blitz in through the A side, or at least trying to fake it out. They're making some noise. They're taking down Shanji and hoping that John's going to come pushing on through and try to take that space. But John, I love this guy, man. He makes the... So a lot of players are too aggressive, right? They can't stop W King, but John makes good decisions. And when he does get stupidly aggressive, he wins.
Oh, it could be a free kill, but it's only going to be the one. not anything more. Again, they managed to bait away the rotation, and it was Besney hastily moving his way back forward. A swing, though, from Boaster gives up the kill. And now that they've got the res, they've managed to bring things back into a winnable position for NIP. Hyber's spot, though, could be everything. They need to make sure they clear him. He's faked the footsteps, though. It's so smart. They used the run to leave one player behind, and now it's all onto Mystic. Attempting the clutch, but he's stuck in the corner. The nade has done so much. There's no chance for him here. An oversight from Fnatic, but more importantly, a fantastic retake from NIP.
Man, the words that we heard from everyone essentially, puggy. That was the key term for NIP. And I'm not even going to disagree with that coming into the tournament. I'm with you. This is some of the cleanest Valorant. It's like crew tournament to tournament, the way they just turned around and went from not playing good Valorant at all to playing some of the best we've seen. This NIP is fresh-faced.
The steps in mid was so nice.
It's so smart. It really is. Everything about this is just so nice to look at. You can see all the work that's gone in, all the thought that's gone into a lot of these plays, but it's the reactive play. It's when things are now going wrong, we're seeing them recover it. We're seeing those protocols be fell back onto, and that's all I need to say that NIP is a good team. This is a serious contender.
Again, default from Fnatic, just waiting to see what sort of play NIP are going to look to try and make into this round. They've been able to catch the majority so far and just make sure that they're not going to really fall apart. The problem is with this early lockdown of the A site, you can almost gamble those extra players in towards mid and have that site anchor firmly in the B site, and Fnatic aren't really gaining much from this sort of position, but they have been able to isolate Cypher at least in a 1v1 trade in most cases. So again, looks like the same sort of pressure put in, but they did fake it the last time they did this, so I'll be curious to see if there's a rotation.
Oh, he's gone over the trap, but they noticed it's okay. It's all good. Ready for that. Here comes the showstopper. Hyber has to wait a moment. Oh, and that actually sets off his blast pack at the wrong time. They've left the site, but at the end of the day, it's done its job. It took space, it got them on the site, but Mystic with a double is absolutely insane. All right, playing on into the Viper's pit. BNJ goes down. Besney, 10 HP left, and he's good for one. I could see so much more happening there with how these rounds have gone, but Fnatic have dealt with it. Left Shanji to clutch it.
Yeah, maybe one of the most impactful from the shadows you've ever seen. Mystic just teleports behind the whole squad. I don't think you see that work in pro play very often.
Not for about 2 years,
Most of the time everyone goes, he's there, and then just turns around and kills him. But the fact that he gets a double, it basically dismantles the entire retake. And that's what NIP have been working on this defensive side is, okay, we're not going to overcommit, we're not going to overface when it comes to the initial fight. We'll fall back and play the retake. Well, if you have someone in behind you taking down 2 players, that retake falls apart.
That's some 2020 Omen play right there. It's like when you jump onto a game with some of your friends, you're like, play Apex or CS or whatever it is, and you're just like, well, how is this guy in our spawn?
Yeah.
You'll love it, man. I remember those days. 11-8. NIP are in the lead, but they've struggled to get some rounds on the board. Fnatic are starting to really build up some momentum. And this split, although will prejudice it as a defensive-sided map the majority of the time, right here, these teams are picking up attack-sided rounds a lot easier by the looks of things. NIP have been left down to practically nothing. John, though, oh, if he gets Mystic, I'm so worried, but he's missed the first few shots. 2 knives left to work with. They're starting to realize this is a B play.
Yeah, that's the thing. Even though he hasn't got a kill, he's taken away that control. So there can't be anybody in this direction. Now, sure, they can look to split back. This has me on edge. This sort of bait and switch setup. I think they're just going to wait. No reason for Fnatic to try and make a play through this spot, especially without any utility as well. And they're almost trying to set this up so that Jandy can nade them back as BNJ goes for his initial pick so that it isn't just a straight up swing and trade. The time, though, Mitch, starting to tick down. 35 seconds left on the clock, and I think the B-side play looks fairly obvious.
Oh no, the shorty's got one, and now it's up close. Swapped out to a Vandal. BNJ already got a second. Down below, he's dealt with. A Bucky's come through for more. What is that? Besney's got a double with a Bucky, and Boaster's 1 HP. NIP have just come into this round with a shorty and some pistols, Tom. And they they've won it. That's unreal. That's actually unreal. And what a setup too.
It was
the fact
gorgeous.
that you've got the smoke. How well does BNJ play around his smokes, dude? He's all the time. Backside on A, on Ascent, right here up in heaven. God, NIP are good at this game.
Wait, it's just the way that he manages to consistently isolate Jules, and then you just got this. Like, Bucky within the cage, especially because he's played an almost identical setup. Like, it's the same way that he's been sat at the back of the site almost every single round, and this time he's just there with a Bucky. Like, not going to be expecting it on the other side. 4 rounds in a row needed for Fnatic, otherwise they are going to be heading into that lower bracket match, I believe, versus Zeta, who had real struggles in their first game versus DRX, but I think it's safe to say that Fnatic's form right now is nowhere near the level of DRX. Kwazin, he's not had much to do so far this game with how many B takes we've had, but the first time he's asked of, he's going to find a couple.
This is going to be tough. Already with the man disadvantage for Fnatic. No ultis in their favor. Hell, NIP don't have them, but except for the From the Shadows, and maybe that'll have huge impact based on what Mystic was doing earlier. The thing is, though, NIP can just sit down now. They've got beat control passively. There's still a wall up in mid, so they know no push is coming through, but I mean, that's going to disappear in a moment. There it is gone. And with that, you see the rotation coming over, because now there's that extra angle to watch, so Shanji's got to come over and make sure nobody crosses through. They'll even use the From the Shadows as a recon dart, confirming that no one's in mid, allowing Shanji to go back to A. Fnatic need to move, because they are running into a stack now.
Yeah, this is an ultimate trap, basically. The flash, all it's really going to do is catch the can, but they have the information. The swings there from Zanji, but he actually goes down. An opportunity, but still 2 players within that site is going to make things incredibly difficult. The timing of the peak's good for Bezany, but he gets nothing done. John, though, he's that knife in the back. They didn't know he was here. Swings out already with a couple, and it is done. It is NIP to send Fnatic into that lower bracket, and they will go through to face off against DRX, a team that definitely came into this as one of the underdogs. But Fnatic, with their couple of stand-ins, they haven't looked right today.
There's no sleeping on NIP after this. I mean, Fnatic didn't play the best game we've ever seen, but NIP have played some beautiful Valorant right here and now.
Yeah.
That's the kind of gameplay that will stand up against the best teams in the world. And Fnatic have got to go back to the drawing board now. You got to hope that maybe they can warm up coming later on into the event. Every single day that they get is like gold dust at this point, because they've only had 8 or 9 days to prep together. Let's hope the 10th is going to be the charm. NIP, though, certainly a team to keep an eye on now moving through the upper bracket.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like,